All right, guys, I think we're ready. And again, thank you guys for jumping on today with such a short notice. I really, really appreciate that. I want to get down one of these boxes here. Good. Um, and so what we're going to work on today is the I formation. And what I'd like you to do, let's take one more minute. And what I want you to do right now is why are you here today for this I formation? What's the one thing top of mind that you want to get better at with the I formation, or one thing that you maybe don't understand, or one thing that is still confusing, one thing that whatever it is, whatever's top of mind. If you guys would put that into the chat area right now, I would appreciate that, because that might help me as we go through this, kind of address some of those issues that you've got. And so go ahead and type that in right now. Let's take another 30 seconds or so before we get rolling. Bill Patton, whoa, the great one. Bill, serve location options, excellent question. Yeah. Ann is asking, make it easier for myself and my partner to get more balls at the net, be a more aggressive team. Sure. Steve, see if I'm mobile enough to make it work. Well, as you can see here, this is the start of the mobility. Obviously, you've got to be able to get down low enough so your serving partner can safely serve over the top of you. But there is some mobility in terms of, are you going to move to your left or move to your right? For sure. Dave is asking, I need to know when to use it exactly and why. How much practice does it take to groove? Sure. Complementary personalities for a dubs partner. Good. Okay. When should server move in relation to your net player? Good one, Eric. Bill, is there an I in team? Well, there is in this case here. So guys, here's what we're to do first is I'm going to show you the first part of this point, and then I'm going to come back and kind of tee up the rest of it. And so let's do that first. And then you guys just go ahead and continue to put in whatever questions you've got. I've got them right here in front of me. I don't think you can see those. Hopefully you can't see my chat box there. But in this match, this was National 65 hard courts, doubles, Irvine, Racket Club of Irvine, a couple of years ago. Chris Morgan, longtime friend, one of my all-time best friends, and good player. And we're playing, and this is me up at net. We're playing Paul Wolf and Len Wofford. Maybe there are times, depending on what age group they're in, when they are definitely the best doubles team in the world in that age group. But in this particular case, the reason we went I formation on Paul is because simply, if I'm over here and Chris is serving from this part here, too often, and Paul, one of the all-time great doubles players in his age group, continuing to go ahead and return the ball cross court, no matter what I was doing, even if I was fake poaching or time to time poaching, putting the ball down here at Chris's feet. And now the ball is just right here in front of Lenny, right? And this is really a tough situation. So the reason that we go to the I formation is that even if Paul returns 100% of the time, we're okay with that, because we're trying to take away this situation where when he returns, he's putting it in front of his partner, right? So even if he returns up here, up the line, and I stay here, Chris now doesn't have to deal with a player who's directly in front of him who's up at net. So that's kind of the main reason, number one. So here's a first serve, misses it, and I want you to start thinking about what Paul's looking at here, right? So Paul is looking at the serve coming over, and all I'm doing, obviously we've got a signal on here that I'm not going to move, right? That Chris is going to move to his left on the serve. The reason he doesn't serve volley is because if he hits a really good serve with Paul, really inside the baseline, it's going to be tough for Chris, to really be able to serve and volley. So Chris is going to move to his left. And if he gets a short ball, sure, he's going to go ahead and play. He's going to play an approach shot. But we now see that the serve is deep. But what Paul has seen from me is that he's seen nothing more than I'm not moving, right? I'm just kind of coming out of my split step and I'm not moving. And he sees that Chris has moved to his left, okay? So now we're going into a second serve. And I'm giving the signal of what I'm going to do, right? And the way that I give a signal here is I'm pointing with my finger, either my index finger with my left hand is pointing in this direction, which means to Chris, I'm staying. I mean, I'm not moving over here. Or if I drop my pinky down, right, little finger on my left hand, that means I'm going to move over here. So Chris not seeing the signal, I kind of hoping, and maybe it's one of these times because you always go, okay, got it. Server generally says, okay, got it. Well, I'm just hoping he got it. I lays it, and I'm hoping he's got signal. He goes, you know what, Brent, you better give it to me again, right? So I give him the signal. Now, one of the great things about the I formation is that if you want to move as opposed to the Australian formation, I would be over here, not literally in the middle of the box, right? But I'd obviously have my left foot probably over here. And look, maybe on the pro tour, but we rarely see this in the pro tour. I mean, these guys are I formation, or maybe they're right in here. But the reality of senior players being able to move over here out of the Aussie is just not realistic. So if I'm playing Aussie over here in this alignment, Chris would still stay here. We're pretty much telling Paul, you know what? You're going to be going, there's only one shot choice you got, and that's to go up the line. Because if I'm an Aussie, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to cover, right? So that's why we go into the I formation. So I've given Chris the signal that I'm not moving, right? So I've given Chris the index finger pointing in this direction. But here's one of the keys to the I formation. You are in a position where you can visually dirty up the landscape for Paul. Dirty up meaning that you could show some movement. I'm not saying that you're going to poach. You could. That's the signal that you give Chris. But I'm saying rather than just standing here, especially on a second serve, which in theory, the second serve is slower, right? So I've got more time to show Paul some movement, dirty up the landscape, and still be able to get back into whatever position I want to, if that's what I want to do. So here's what happens. That's my job, right? My job is to dirty up the landscape for Paul. And so that the last second, he's not sure what I'm going to do. So even if he decides that he's going up the line, he's probably not going to be able to have as much great high quality stroke technique as if I just stood here and did nothing, right? If I just stood here with the Aussie, he obviously knows that he's got the freedom to go up here. From here, he doesn't know if I'm going to poach to my left or not. So here's Chris's second serve. And a couple things are going on here. Number one is I want you to focus on me for a second, and then we're going to come back to Chris. So my job now is I'm going to dirty up the landscape with a fake poach, right? And I've got enough time to be able to get over this far. And Paul's now got to make a choice. Is Brent going? Is Brent staying? What's going on? And yet I come back, right? So he's made the choice now because he's not looking at me. At some point, he stopped looking at me thinking, well, maybe I'm going to keep going. And he's now chosen, you know what? I'm going to go over here. Now, this might seem a little anticlimactic because Paul misses the return, but that's the role that I've got. My role is to force him to think about something. And look, Chris and I in tandem, are we creating this unforced error? I'm going to say yes. Now, here's the other thing I want you to notice with Chris. One of the things that I do, and this addresses, I can't remember who asked me earlier, what do you do to counter this? And there's two ways that I counter it. Is number one is I don't watch this player. So if I'm Paul, I don't watch this player. What I key on is the server. And most servers, what they do is as they serve, as they come out of the serve, and Chris knows that he's going to cover to his left, right here, most servers immediately start to peel over here because they know I gotta cover this up. So out of my peripheral, I'm trying to key on what Chris is doing. I'm not looking at the net player. And if I see that Chris hits this serve and moves over here, well, guess what? I know that this net player is moving this way. So now I get to return over here. If I see that Chris immediately peels off over here, well, then I know that even if Brent's faking, that Chris is going to be here and Brent's going to be on this side. But here's what Chris does. He actually ends up, his first step or two, he ends up coming in where no one knows which way he's going, right? So this is what I coach. When you're the server, you can't give away, you can't telegraph where you're going out of that serve, because if this guy is smart, this guy's keying on your initial step or two to see which direction you're going in, right? Chris does this perfectly, right? He kind of gets hidden behind me, right? We're literally in the I formation, not only from the serve, but also for the first couple steps. And Paul's not sure. He doesn't know which way we're going, right? And now Chris at this point really makes his move over here. Okay? So the other way that I counter it is if I'm playing against a team where I don't know what's happening here. Depending on the serve that I get, I'm going to probably chip it low and slow in here. Because if this player does cross over, low and slow is going to get down. It's going to be a tough shot. And if this player goes to this direction, low and slow, assuming that you're not hitting something that is a heavy top that bounces up, I said chip, slice, low and slow, keep it down low. You don't have to go for the big bomber. That's not your job. That's not your job as a returner, right? The other one is if this player's overhead is not great. In this situation, Chris's overhead is great. So I wouldn't go to the other tactic, which is if I don't know what's happening with this player, then I'm just going to lob deep cross court. Now, even with a great overhead, if you have a good deep lob, not easy to hit a really offensive overhead from here, especially in the seniors. Maybe some of you young bucks, you young studs can do that, but assuming that most of us can't do that, then that's definitely a play. Now, look, when Maya and I played the husband-wife finals, the grass courts here a couple months ago, when the gal was serving to me, and she was serving actually from the ad court to me, and her husband was up here at net, and he was so quick. I really couldn't even get it lower slow anywhere or lower slow there. So all I did was I took her serve every time, second and third sets, and I lobbed over here back to her. And it worked. I mean, it worked almost every time. So that is another way that you can counter, if you can't tell what's going on here. So let's take a break here for just a second. Give me some feedback on what we've talked about so far. Is there one thing that came out in terms of if you are the server's partner out of the eye, what you should be doing? And look, I fake every time. Second serve, sometimes I'll fake like this, and I'll stop early, and then I'll go, right? If I've already signaled to Chris that look, I'm going over here, right? Other times I'll just simply I'll just do a little, one little jab step, one little step, just to kind of dirty up the landscape. This one's a pretty big fake, right? I mean, I'm really, really, really trying to make an effort to get out there. And look, all you got to, and look, so you are challenging the returner. Could they play that? Yes. Look, we can't, I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you are. You can never cover 100% of the court as a doubles team. You can at best cover 80%. And if you could do that 100% of the time, you'd win every one of your doubles matches. But so am I leaving a little something here? Of course. Are we leaving a little something over here? We sure are. But that's a calculated risk. Let's talk about serve location, right? So I like to serve to the body, especially against someone like this who likes to return. I can't see clearly from here, but it looks to me like Paul's got both feet inside the baseline, right? I like to serve at the body because what you can do is you can kind of tie up stroke technique, right? If you've got a decent serve and you're going to the body, even if it's a spin serve, like Chris's second serve, if you go to the body and you get the ball up high, you're not giving that returner any kind of advantage. Now look, everyone says, well, maybe you should serve to the tee. Well, if I'm staying, which I've signaled to Chris, now what we're doing is technically, if Chris serves to the tee, he is setting up what would be technique-wise a cross-court return for Paul, right? Even though it's by definition it's going up the line, but in terms of stroke technique for his backhand, it's a cross-court swing, right? If we go out wide here, that might be a better play than going here, because even though you might be going to a stronger forehand, let's say, still, if you get Paul out wide, if he goes up the line, the geometry says that he's hitting the ball back towards you, right? Towards the server in here, or towards me. I don't like it when I've given the signal to Chris that I'm going to move over here. I don't like the out wide serve. I just don't like it because I feel like I've got too much court to cover too soon. And I don't want to get stretched out with my volley, right? If the guy goes up the line and I'm running over there and I'm stretched out with my arm, just trying to, get there, it's not great. It's just not great technique. So I like to serve to the body in the I formation. And look, in this situation here, you're forcing a player to have to choose, am I going to play a forehand? Am I going to play a backhand? And lots of the times in the senior stuff, the brain does not work as quick. The feet aren't as fast. And you know what? Even if he's got, great strokes, that's the best place to put it. All right, let's go look at, okay. So Randy's saying, I've used the cross-court lob a lot, but I really like the low and slope the line with perhaps a singles line of it inside the target. Yeah. So look, that's really a good point, Randy, because what happens here is that we're trying to fine tune, like I said before. Yes, I'm going to give you this sliver over here. Yes, we're going to give you this part over here. And if you're thinking as a returner, that's my only target is a sliver, is a line, it's too risky. If you go for this single sideline, if you go low and slow over in here, you're going to be fine if you can actually get it over there, right? So Randy's right. Don't go for that double sideline. Make it a lot safer. Is the T body where you should serve with I formation? Now, yeah, I think the Chad we just talked about that. Major Dan, really good body serve, made this work too, and it did. So if you look at Chris's direction, he's good enough at the body. No, it's not directly at him, but this is not great stroke technique to try to take this angle and lay it off into that alley. It's been done before. but we'll take our chances on it. Let's go back here and let me see. Yeah, Bill's talking about a tiny head fake also works really well. And look, this is the key. When you're this player, you can't show this kind of fake every time, because eventually they start to recognize it. So as Bill just mentioned, sometimes when you come out of this, it's just a little head bob, right? It's a little, just a half jab step with that left foot, just boom, quick, and then you come back. The key is that you are trying to dirty up the landscape with different looks over and over and over again. Steve's asking, are you moving after seeing the ball? Do you know where the serve was going? So, Steve, so to answer, let me take your, yeah, I do know where the serve is going because Chris and I have worked this out. We played so much doubles before that he knows that, I don't want him to serve out wide, especially against Paul Wolf, his signature shot in doubles is this forehand that he just gets around the corner of the ball and he puts you into a world of hurt over here if you're the server, right? So, well, first of all, we don't want that, especially if I'm going to cross. But to tell you when do I move? Well, since I know this is a fake, I'm going to move a little earlier to show movement. I'm showing movement, right? And I played enough with Chris that I know the speed of his second serve, and out of my peripheral, I'm also, I like to scan. I like to kind of scan the service box to see exactly. Chris might have said, hey, I'm going to the body. All right, great, right? Best laid intentions, but let's say it leaks out over here. So I'm looking to see where it's going for sure. But I'm keying on the fact that I know Chris's serve speed for a second serve, and I'm also seeing where Paul is, right? I'm also looking a little bit, not directly at him, because I want to focus on the ball. If it comes back to me, I want to find it. But all I can tell you guys, and we did this with Dennis Ralston yesterday, people were saying, well, how do you get so good at the targets? And if you were on yesterday's Zoom, what was his answer? Practice, practice, practice. There's no formula that works every time, because it totally depends on the serve speed. It depends on where this opponent is waiting to receive it. It depends on what the intentions were that maybe didn't happen. So you can never ever say, well, this is the one lockdown, it works every frickin' time formula. Doesn't do that. So you have to practice it. You have to work on it. And look, is this a guarantee that I formation is going to work on this point? No. I can show you lots of points where we did the I formation and we lost a point. But the reason we're doing this, as I said in the beginning, is to take away this cross-court return, which gets right in front of a partner, right? And are you moving after seeing the ball? Well, no. I think I've already started the move, right? The ball's probably, is it on top of me now? I think so. I've already started to come out of my crouch, right? So, looking forward to what is best spot to go with serve. My bet is you were saying body. Yeah, you know that, Randy. Robin saying, I notice you are bending at the waist instead of kneeling down like the young guys do. I've kneeled down before. I think sometimes, if it's a really long match and I'm getting tired and it's hot, I've been known to put a knee down there, and that's fine. In this case, I don't know. It just felt better. So Bill's asking, is faking more effective after you have already successfully poached? I do think whether you're poaching in the traditional, where I'm here and Chris is back here, or you're doing it out of the I formation, you definitely can't just do this every time a fake poach. You have to show a poach once in a while to make the fake effective. And the same thing works for the poach. You have to show enough fake poaching to make a poach effective, right? And the whole idea behind poaching is to try to at least get the returner to slow down their swing, maybe be a little visually distracted. So if the return does go back, they can't just have all day long to take a look at the ball and just unload on it, right? They're not sure. So that's shortening their swing path. That's also causing a little bit of confusion, a little indecision, but you've got to be able to show both. And so my thing is, I never ever just kind of, you know, I'm obviously in the I formation, you would never just stand here because you got to let the ball go over your head. So coming up out of it, as I did in the first serve, is a form of movement. Your job, remember, your job is to disrupt the visual landscape of that returner. Same serve strategy to ad side. I think, Don, it kind of depends on the quality of the opponent, meaning, you know, again, I don't like going to the tee, because if you go to the tee and now what happens is, again, in theory, yes, they're playing it up. They could play it back up the line, but also now you're lining up stroke technique wise a cross court forehand in terms of stroke technique, right? So I just don't like it. So I either go to the body or go out wide. But the key here is two things, guys. It is the fake, and it is your serving partner not immediately moving to the right or to the left so that they telegraph to the returner which side they're going to. Because as soon as I see that, I'm just playing it to whatever direction they're moving in. I know their partner is not going there. If I see Chris immediately go over here, where's Brent going? Well, he's not staying here. He's obviously going to go there. So Eric's saying, I find when returning against side formation, right back up the middle works because both server and the net men are rushing to move their designated sides. Eric, I kind of disagree, because out of the I formation here, if I just stay here and you go up the middle, and again, now the middle could be not literally the middle. The middle could be that you're thinking, well, Brent's staying and Chris is moving over here. So the middle is somewhere in here. If that's your definition of the middle, that's fine. But if you're saying go back up the middle, because if I'm staying, I'm not going to go way over here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay more in this area. And again, I'm going to challenge you. Fine. You want to have this little piece of real estate over here? You go for it. So, you know, if you have success against it, then I would say don't stop it. But in this lineup here, I don't think going up the middle is going to work for you, unless you crush it at me, and then I can't handle the volley. Maybe that could work too. And it does, yeah, Dave. So I would think returning a cross-court lob would neutralize your I formation. The server is moving fast. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I said before, is that the way that I like to, if I'm the returner, to work it, if I can't tell what's happening up here and I can't tell which side the server's going on, is I'm going to lob, right? Now, in this case, what I might do is I might lob over in this area here because I've got a right-handed player. And if Chris does move over in this direction, right, this is a nasty overhead, right? He's got to move. If he's really going to play an overhead, he's got to run around the backhand. He's got to get in position. And again, not easy, right? Takes a lot of footwork to be able to do that. And look, if Chris decides to stay back, well, do I care if it's a lob? Of course not. So, what else, guys? What else is on your mind? Let me get a quick little drink of agua here. What's coming up for you that I've not addressed? Or is there one thing that really kind of jumped out? Yeah, I mean, if you've got a kicker, out of the I formation, nasty. totally nasty. And I like it because for me, it gives me even more time to do some landscape disruption, right? Um, so, I mean, Chris's serve here is a standard, nice topper that, what is this? Is this like chest high? Not an easy backhand, chest high, right? So here's the other thing you can do if you're the returner, and what I would say is to stay back a little further. Maybe that's not in your mindset. It's not really in my mindset. I mean, I'd rather sort of make this a guessing game. I'd like if I'm the returner, sometimes I just guess, right? I just what's Brent done so far? You know, what have these guys done so far? Well, most of the time they're doing this. Well, the last time they did this and they were successful. Well, maybe the chances are since they were successful last time, maybe they're doing the same thing again, right? Excuse me. So I might go ahead and just guess that they're going to do the same thing. But the other way to do it is to stay back a little bit. Stay back, let the fake take care of itself. Let the fake go ahead. And by then, maybe you'll see which side the server's peeling off to, and you can do something. Look, what's what's the job of the returner? The job of the returner is to make us play, is to make the serving team have to play. It's not to go for winners. You should never put yourself under that kind of pressure. You think, well, oh my God, they're playing I formation. I don't know where Brent's going. I don't know where Chris is going. I got to go ahead and get a ball that I can really unload on, hoping it doesn't come back. And, I mean, I remember playing doubles a couple of years ago with the great Dick Johnson, and I don't think he missed a return in the finals. I'm sure he must have, but I don't remember one. And after the match going, what's going on? I don't think he missed a return. And he said, well, I'm just see what serve's coming in. I pick a target, I hit it there, and I assume it's going to come back. And then the whole thing, he just kind of changed my whole tennis life, was he said, and then we'll just take it from there. And I think too often what happens is players get confused with, the returner gets confused with this and poaching. And so they feel like I've got to do something big to defeat this. And I don't want the ball to come back. So, kick slice, same location, kick body or tee is more in play with a kicker. Again, man, it really depends on the quality of your kicker, and it depends on the quality of what stroke you're kind of kicking into over there. I mean, if you've got a nasty kicker, I would go to the body, just because if you take that, like, let's say in the ad side, if you've got, if you're right-handed player and you kick out wide to the ad court, now what happens, this player is, let's say, out here, and one of us has got to cover this for sure, because this is kind of open, and yet there is a sharp angle over here that's now wide open. So, it's like any kind of a shot where you take an opponent out wide, especially in doubles. Now it splits you two guys further apart because there's more court to cover. So I'm not saying, and that's why everyone says, well, the middle solves the riddle. The only reason I like the middle is if I'm playing a shot from the middle and I want it to come back out from the middle. So in this case, since we're now obviously lined up, one of us has got to cover the middle. We both can't, right? So I would say, guys, for a while, especially if you've got the big, high, nasty kicker, experiment with going to the body, and let's see what happens. Don saying not covered returner's partner. Can he call out approach or anything to help? You're talking about Lenny right here. I've never seen that. I've never seen where this guy is looking at us and trying to communicate at the same time with his partner, meaning, poach or stay or whatever. it all happened so fast. I just don't think that there's enough time. And I'm not sure if that's actually legal. I don't know if that's within the rules. It could be, I guess, but obviously Lenny is doing what everyone says, don't do it. But it just seems like, all the good players do it. And that's looking at his partner to see what's happening here. Is he tied up stroke technique? Should he be thinking right now, God dang it, I better take a little step or two back, because this could not be great coming out of this look right here, right? Or he's looking to see, is he lined up to really go here? And if he is, Lenny now knows that way before I'm going to give him that information. Because if I'm just faking and coming out and Paul then goes up here and Lenny's looking at me, what information is he getting? He's getting nothing, only that the ball maybe's not coming to me, right? So look, I know this is like infidel in the temple, goes against all everyone's saying, but there's lots of times I look back at my partner to see what they're doing. I don't do it all the time. I mean, if both these guys are up at net and it's going to be bang, bang, sure, I'll go ahead and watch one of these guys. But look, there's a chance that maybe on the last point, Paul lobbed. I don't remember. And so maybe Lenny's looking to see, is he going to lob? And he's going to instantly measure that short or that's deep. If it's short, he's going to learn that faster by looking here than looking at me. So I hope that helps. Okay, what do we got here? Chad saying start on the body, forehand side to go into the returner, serve moving early and not hiding for a step or two behind that. Yeah. Should returner partner play 2 back against this? I would play 2 back if this guy, the server's got a big serve, right? But I'll tell you this, if and it's pretty tough. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the server's always kind of concerned. If I'm going for a big serve, I don't want to ding my partner, right? So I'm trying to think back, just spur of the moment here. Have I faced any I formations where the server's got a huge serve? And I'll tell you, if they did, then I would probably just go on, you know what? Let's just go ahead and play 2 back. I'm going to lob it. Or if I feel like I can lob it, why go 2 back? Why not let him start up here and just be able to do this? If I'm back here behind the baseline because I can't handle the big bomber, I'm going to go ahead and play a lob. The whole world knows I'm playing a lob. Then, and this is what Maya and I did, right? I mean, against the gal, everyone knew I was lobbing. We had, it was a packed house that day, packed. 100 people, I don't know, that packed. But everyone knew when she's serving to me, I'm lobbing every frickin' time. And so did Mai stay back? No. And, primarily because she was serving, it wasn't a big serve, so a little bit off topic. But look, no, I would say that if it's a really big serve, then I would just stay here, assuming that your partner's going to lob anyway. Where are we here? Same strategy for 2 left-handers serving against 2 right-handers. Well, the strategy is to serve to the body, right? I mean, look, sure. I don't see why you would change that. I wouldn't see why you would serve down the tee. Wouldn't make any difference. I would continue to serve to the body, throw in a fake, make sure the server doesn't peel off too early immediately after the serve and give it away. Steve's saying, when you know you're going to lob the ball on the return, do you step back a bit before the serve? I do. And I don't care if they know it. I don't care if they know that's what's coming. Major Dan, all this only works if the server can somehow compromise the returner. If not, the returner has good targets and can control the point. Well, not necessarily. I mean, look, I've got another video that I didn't tee up for you guys today, but it kind of answered that question, which is, Well, what do I do? I've got a serving partner who's got a really slow second serve. How can I possibly help? And it is up to you as the partners, as a serving partner. You have to mix in fakes. You have to mix in a fake and then a go, which is that point that, maybe I'll show you guys in the next episode what that is. But the next one is I've got a partner in the point, not Chris, but someone else, very slow second serve. And you have to try to help that partner out. Maybe you don't poach. And everyone thinks, well, I guess I have to poach all the time. No, you don't. What you have to do is poach sometimes, but you have to fake a lot, because what are you trying to do, even off a slow serve? You're trying to time it in terms of how do I dirty up the landscape for that returner, even if it's a slow serve. How do I dirty it up? How do I get them to slow down their swing so that even if they pick the right target, they're not unloading? And so, Mark, I tell you here, there are ways that serving partner can really help out. So if that's what you mean, I'm not sure what you mean that the server can somehow compromise the returner. If that means a big serve, not necessarily. Not really. So maybe next week we'll get into that. Guys, I've got a couple more minutes. I got a coaching call I've got to jump on here in just a few minutes. But happy to hang around a few more minutes if you've got some more questions. Do this anyway. Let me know. Let me know if you got something out of today's thing, or maybe, and that could be, a good thing that you got out of it today could be that it just kind of confirmed some stuff that you're thinking about. But anything else that you got today that really kind of jumped out at you that we might spend some more time digging into on future episodes of What's the Right Shot? How do you get this great camera angle? It's real simple. You get two things. There's one called the fence mount, or the camera mount is just brilliant. It's called the QM Quick Mount 1, which was designed by Mike Lamens, Denver, Colorado, years ago, specifically for tennis. And it's great because it telescopes out so that you can hang it off, in any kind of fence. And then what I do is on this one, I hung it off the back fence, and then I secured it with a little bungee cord on the other side of the fence, so it wasn't on the windscreen side. And then in this one, I just used a GoPro, right? A GoPro, and just put it up there, and I just let the camera run. And then I go back in and just cherry pick a few points. It's pretty amazing that when you look at, this is national level. I think this was the semis. And so this is two good teams and four good players. But the reality is there's only maybe a handful of points that are sort of coaching moments. Most points are over so fast. So, but it's still, look, I would tell you guys, this is the best way for you to be able to know how to see how you're playing. And look, we haven't even talked about stroke technique today, right? Haven't talked about one thing about stroke technique. All we've been talking about is shot choice and court positioning. And if you will, and that's the whole premise of What's the Right Shot, is just those two dynamics. And if you will start to, and I go over to, you can pick up the QM1, the fence mount, at My Tennis Tools. I'll actually type it in here. mytennistools.com. And there you have it. mytennistools.com. You can pick up the QM1. I know that you can also get a camera that does just as good a job as a GoPro, a lot less expensive. It's called the Muvi, M-U-V-I. But if you really want to get some reality about your tennis game and stop thinking that the best way that you can get better is to grind more in the ball machine or take more lessons from a guy who's just feeding you balls on how to get more top on the forehand, is to video yourself, is to video yourself in this way, and then just start setting it. And if you want some help with the setup, and if you want some help with how to get it on your computer so that you can efficiently watch it, just shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. I'm happy to do that for you. And a couple more questions here. Mr. Stemple, my soon-to-be realtor in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Bo, what's going on? Yeah, I just got the email. Steamboat Tennis Center is opening up tomorrow, and definitely we will definitely spend some time in the court. Don saying the one kind of the big one you got today was chip low down the line or lob as returner, serve body as servo. We'll put that in the strategy bag. Good. And then Steve is asking, and guys, I've got a little offer for you here. If you're still hanging out with me here, I got a little offer I want to make here in just a minute for you. How often a set do you play this formation on your team serve? What percentage of Australian? Sometimes we never use it. Sometimes we never have to use it for whatever reason. Even if the guy's returning cross court, let's say that Paul is returning cross court all day long, and Chris is coming in playing a first volley, maybe a half volley, whatever it is, or stopping early, letting the return bounce up, playing approach shot. But we know that Lenny is never going to poach. We just know it. So if that's the case, then cross court's fine. I mean the standard formation is fine, right? But we do this when we know that if there's a cross court return and this player up here is super active, man, we got to do something. So it depends on that. But if this player never moves, thank you. If you're going to stay home all day long, even if your partner's hitting great returns, we've definitely got the advantage. I never play Australian, ever. I never, ever play Australian because I feel like if I'm the serving partner, the service partner, I can't help. I can't do anything. I mean, sitting out here trying to fake poach, Chris is serving from here and I'm fake poaching from here. Nobody believes it. I mean, it's just laughable. No one believes it. I can't even dirty up the landscape for Paul if I'm hoping, because he knows there's no way I can physically go from here to there without him seeing it. So I never ever play the Australian. And look, I get it, Steve. A lot of guys are just set in their ways, and that's fine. And you've got to be a little physical on this thing, right? I mean, let's say this is a long 3-setter, and here we are at 5-all. Man, you better be in shape. You better be in shape because what happens here, right? I mean, we start off with the first serve. We start off with the first serve, which is missed, and now I got to come up, and now I'm down in the crouch. Chris doesn't see it, right? He says, "All right, what's going on? I got to get up, get out." So you got to be fit. You got to be fit for this, right? And you don't want to. And I'll tell you this: if you get in this crouch, kind of a semi-crouch, I'm telling you, your serving partner is concerned about hitting you. And you now, because you can't get down low enough, give them the freedom to get the ball up and over your head, in this case, to go right at the returner. So guys, there you have it. And there it is. So look, gang, here's the offer I want to make for you. And like, I've just gotten on with this company called Purium literally 5 weeks ago. And I haven't talked much about my diet, the way I eat. But we are pretty much, we don't preach diet. Mine, I don't preach diet, but we're pretty close to plant-based. I still eat some fish and a little dairy now and then, but very little. But I've always believed that, you know what, I need some help. No matter how clean we eat, no matter how organic, I do believe that we need some help with supplements. I used to be a big vitamin guy, and over the years, just felt like, you know what, I don't really feel anything. And I just sort of intellectually figured, well, it must be good for me. And so I didn't know if I was just doing some kind of expensive urine, pardon my French. So we've gotten on with Purium, and I'll tell you why, for a couple of reasons. Is we were looking for a company that made some supplements, and these guys make organic, plant-based supplements. I know a few of you who are on today, I've talked to, and you guys are, in your first 30 days of this. But the reason I'm taking them is, for the first time, I don't have to take ibuprofen anymore. And that for me has been a big deal. I was taking ibuprofen before every time I played tennis, because I didn't have like a specific injury, but I just sort of had this systemic kind of sluggishness. I'm not going to, it's not, I'm not horribly arthritic, but all the tennis I play, and look, when we're here in the desert, I'm playing 6 days a week. I mean, the weather's great. A lot of players playing the grass courts, sometimes the hard courts, sometimes the clay. I'm playing a lot. And I was always having to take, a couple of ibuprofen, which I think we all would agree is not great for you. So 30 days in, the last 30 days, I've had no ibuprofen. I'm getting into a deeper sleep, and I'm taking this product that not only is helping me sleep better, but is helping reduce any inflammation that I've been producing throughout the day in my sleep. This gut, we all know that now that gut health is super important, the biome. I'm getting a sharper focus. They make a product called Can't Beat This, where I'm getting just a mental energy, whether I'm playing tennis or whether I'm working out. And then the recovery. The recovery is so much better, so that I can go out tomorrow and do the same thing, whether it's going out to play tennis or I've been doing these just grinding 90-minute mountain bike rides every other day, and it's been hot. So I definitely, within 30 minutes of getting back, I'm doing this recovery shake, which has really, really helped me. So look, if you guys are open to it, what I'd love for you to do is to try one or more of the Purium products. And even if it's just one, I'm happy to give you, for just trying it, as a gift, because I think you'll love it. But I'll give you any one of my courses, any one of my $97 courses. Could be stroke technique, could be singles or double strategies, mental, whatever it is. I'm happy to give that to you as a free gift, just for trying this. So look, if you're open to it, maybe you want to lose some weight, maybe you want to shed some pounds coming out of COVID and all that, then I can help you do that. Give you some ideas of what to do in the kitchen a little bit differently, and also a product or two here with Purium. Look, if you're open for that, just shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com, and let's get in the phone. Or I can respond. If you've got something specific you want help with, let me know what that is, and I can either get back to you email wise, or we can jump on the phone for a quick little call. Guys, with that, thank you for hanging out with me today. Always enjoy this. Any other questions, again, brent@webtennis.com, and we will do this again very soon. Thanks, guys.